I want to talk about this press release, though. There's some really nice numbers in here, but I think the bigger story in here is that you're putting money towards exploration, which you haven't done for some time. So, because obviously you're throwing off cash now. So, tell me what you're aiming to do. What's the plan here?
Well, just to touch on your point there about that. I mean, ever since we put Palito back in production in 2014, and we acquired Sao Chico a year or so later, and then put that into production as well, we raised just enough money to do that, and not quite enough. And we went to Sprott. We're a great lender, and we borrowed money off Sprott twice, 8 million, which we paid off, and 8 again, which we've only got 2 million left to pay on that, and that'll be gone by the end of June. So we basically paid borrowed $60 million of debt and paid it off out of cash flow. So we've never had money for exploration, really. We've just been servicing and paying off debt. So the opportunity, so exploration was pretty much parked, bar, immediate mine site, head frame exploration, as I like to call it, in around Palito and Sao Chico. But obviously what we did in 2018, we did do a financing, we raised over $20 million, and we did set aside a chunk of money for exploration for the first time in about 5 years. So it was great. But perhaps first I'll talk about the Sao Chico exploration results, which is part of that headframe exploration I've just talked about.
Yeah.
And that is the ongoing program. We have done a couple of releases already this year. It's the continued step-out drilling of the Sao Chico extension westerly, which we're doing. And I think if one looks at the images in the press release, it's getting very interesting that as we actually step out west at Sao Chico, which is all we're doing beyond the mine limits with surface drilling, we are working our way towards a geophysical anomaly, which is called Cicada, which we've also been drilling. And what the compelling thing here is, it's beginning to look, we've got the very sort of interesting possibility that this is all going to join up. And this gives us, so essentially what we're drilling is the gap between Sao Chico and this geophysical anomaly called Cicada.
Okay, so let's look at that. There's a couple of diagrams in the press release. Do you mind sort of talking me through those?
Well, if we look here, we can see the Sao Chico deposit. You can see the mine limits down there in the sort of the southeast corner, and that's what we've been mining over the last few years. It's open to the southeast, which is the area called Highway. We've got no holes in this release on that area at the moment. We are going to go back there, but we've been focusing on the area to the west. And you can see there, I know it's not exactly shown on the scale bar, but you can see we've got sort of 6 or 7 holes now in that area beyond the western limit of the mine area, and going towards that lake area. Now we've got some really nice intersections in there, mineable grades, mineable widths. And of course, what's beginning to interest us is at the same time with this release, we've got our first results from the Cicada anomaly. Now this was those sort of colored areas you see to the west there, they're all terrestrial geophysical anomalies that we obtained from the survey last year, and we actually started drilling at the beginning of this year. We've got our first results, and we're drilling not with core drilling here, we're drilling with what's RC drilling. So it's much coarser drilling where you just collect rock chips. You don't get such an accurate sample, but it's kind of discovery drilling. But there's enough there for us to get pretty excited about. We've got 3 meters at 2 grams, including 1 at over 5, which is very, very gold bearing. And the interesting point is, it's bang on projection of the Sao Chico ore zone. And as we're moving west, it's become quite possible for us that these things might all join together, which is really very interesting. So now if we look at that in terms of the long section, so now we can see long section wise, the mine on the right hand side, you can see all the levels in blue, you can see the areas we've been mining and are mining in yellow, and you can see where we're drilling all around the edges, obviously to the west, sort of to the east. At depth, we've still got some very nice intersections right down there at the bottom, so showing the mine just going down and down and down. But we're trying to drill that area to the west of the mine, the information gap, as I call it, between Sao Chico and Cicada, that terrestrial geophysics anomaly, which we've just actually started drilling and got those hits up at the top. So we've got a nice area of about 600, 700, 800 meters there to fill in, and we're just stepping along, going west time and time and time. The last intersections we actually got were not so wide, but the structure was still going strong, and it was still over 1 gram. But you can see in there, we're picking up some really nice numbers. We've got 5 over 5 meters at 12 grams, and another sort of 12 gram in there. So, and right at the top there, we've got nearly 2 meters at 28 grams per ton. So some really nice numbers, and a big area to obviously justify extending that mine west as we go, and we'll just continue drilling that gap all the way to Cicada. And if this thing joins up, we're sitting on some pretty nice resource growth at Sao Chico. Okay, so here we have the results of that airborne geophysics survey with the geochemistry superimposed. So when we first received this, we had this. We were pretty excited about this, because there we have the Palito mine at the top, where our plant and Palito deposit is, and Sao Chico down there in the southwest corner. And we never in a moment did we think we'd have this huge geophysical magnetic anomalous high with all those little black areas. They're the electromagnetic anomalies, which is another type of geophysics, and they are usually an indicator of massive sulfide. So you can see there's a chain of them that sit on the flanks of that big magnetic high, and it's a huge feature, and it obviously makes us think that is a different rock type, a favorable rock type for sulfide mineralization, and we obviously have those black dots, the electromagnetic highs going along with it. So what we've done, we've actually superimposed soil geochemistry over the top, and hey ho, we've got a nice coincidental copper anomaly as well. So the plan now is to hone in on those anomalies and actually see if we get a coincidental gold anomaly. And you can see down there on the Cinderella shear, we do. And that's got a really nice series of contiguous gold anomalies there. So that's really excellent. And what we're going to do there is do even tighter lines, like closer space sampling, and see if we can join if they join up and actually really have a nice continuity of the anomaly there and make those drill ready. But probably the two that really excite us now is this one area called Calico and Jura, which are over at the west end. Really looking at the close-up at Calico and Jura, this is an area where we've actually already taken the copper soil samples that were anomalous and reassayed them for gold, and got some really terrific results. And you can see there at Calico, we've got a series of really high-grade 30 part per billion gold anomalies, soil anomalies, and interestingly enough, I look at that and I see the orientation of those anomalies, and they are exactly the same orientation strike, as we call it, as the Palito deposit. So I think that's going to be a big stack of veins, just like Palito, and I'm sure that's what that's going to end up being. The geology is very similar, so it really does look like a Palito copy so far at this stage from a geochemical anomaly viewpoint. Only 5Ks from Palito, so pretty easy to actually start something there and truck it up to the Palito plant. That's not going to be an issue. And to the south there, we've got this one called Jura. Now, this one probably is even more exciting because it has all the components that you would want to see for some type of scalable deposit. It's over 1 kilometer in diameter. It's got coincidental copper, gold, and other elements like molybdenum, tellurium, bismuth, multi-elements that you would actually find in a porphyry type deposit. And we already know that the rocks that we have are ripe for that. So there's one that these are the two we actually want to sort of move forward with and get closer space sampling on and see if we can tighten these up, and all being well, drill them in Q4 and see what we can find there. It's looking very much like a Palito. The rocks are the same. It's only 5 kilometers from Palito, so it's pretty exciting.